you know that costs are rising. Your expenses are probably going up by the hundreds and even thousands of dollars each month. All right, guys, welcome back to the Know Your Numbers Real Estate Investing Podcast. My name is Chris McCormack, certified tax coach and CPA out here in Edina, Minnesota, serving real estate investors around the United States. And today we're going to be diving into the topic of why you are paying so much in tax. You know, if you've been paying attention to anything in the financial world lately, you know that costs are rising. Your expenses are probably going up by the hundreds and even thousands of dollars each month. We are committed to doing what we can to decreasing the number one expense on your personal financial statement, which is taxes. And so we often hear, and we know that it's on the minds of a lot of people, why do I pay so much in tax? And so today we're going to dive into 5 things that are causing you to pay a lot more than you should in taxes. You know, we believe that the US government, or the United States of America, was set on some great founding principles, and one of those is a capitalistic economy, but also the tax code that is incentivizing that capitalistic economy allows for certain people to get certain deductions to pay less in tax. But we know that there has been a great gap between the knowledge of the fact that you can save on taxes and the action steps that it takes to actually save on taxes. So today, again, going through 5 steps, or that are the reasons, 5 reasons you are paying so much to the United States government. Number 1 is you didn't speak to a professional. I guess the number 1 reason that people overpay in taxes is because they don't speak to a professional, right? Maybe you've had a toothache or maybe even some chest pain in the past. I know that I've experienced stuff in the past and even in the present that I just know that it's good to go to a professional and get it checked out to make sure it's nothing serious. And I often find that when I do that, I leave with a lot more confidence, either knowing that I'm on the right track, or I have a process that I can go through to make things better, right? Even going to the dentist. I go and get my teeth cleaned every 6 months, and I know that part of that they'll do x-rays and clean my teeth and see how the gums are. And when that occurs, they can determine if there's anything wrong with it. It's similar when you meet with a tax professional, right? I can look at your prior year tax returns and determine if there's anything that you're missing out on, or if there's been any mistakes on your previous tax returns. We know that even if you're meeting with a tax professional maybe once a year, that you might not be getting all the benefits you could be getting. I went to a dentist when we were living out in California, and the difference between the dentist there and the dentist here in Minnesota is very vast. The one in California was focused on getting a lot of people in and out. So they cleaned my teeth. They did some great work, but I didn't really have any insights as to what I should do to better improve my dental hygiene, or whether things were working correctly. But then I came here in Minnesota, and granted, I went to the dentist on a day that it was snowing and not many people were showing up for their dental appointments, but there was a connection with the dentist, and they were able to tell me that you're on the right track. You could probably floss a little bit more. We see this, we might be concerned with this, but all things look good, right? And the same thing should be done with your tax professional. You should have a relationship. We talked about this on the last episode. You should have a relationship with your tax professional so that you can come to them and say, hey, I'm concerned about this. How does this look? How does this fit in to where I want to go? But you can only do that if you're meeting with them on a regular basis. And too many people in the United States, especially in the real estate world, are trying to do it all on their own and meeting with their tax professional, if at all, only once a year. So mistake number 1 as to why you're paying too much in tax is because you're not meeting with a professional. And if you are meeting with a professional and you're still wondering why you are paying too much in tax, we'll get to it a little bit in point number 4, but for right now, it's probably because you're not meeting with them on a regular basis and really taking a reactive rather than proactive approach to your taxes. Number 2, again, this is kind of a sub point of number one, but you're relying on software. I was watching, I don't watch TV much, but I was watching TV a couple months ago. It was tax season, and there were commercials for TurboTax. They made it seem very easy. They made it seem like you didn't have to do anything. You give all your information to someone and they plug it in, or you give all your information to a robot and it calculates it for you. And that's true. It really is. I used TurboTax before I started my practice and was still in the corporate world, and it worked great. But that was, again, before I started my practice and actually had something that I could use to better improve my tax savings. And too many real estate investors have worked with TurboTax for so many years, and they're looking to expand their portfolio, and maybe they have 5 properties and they're still doing it on TurboTax and relying on software when they should be meeting with a professional, right? You can go to TurboTax and input all your information, but they're not going to tell you something that you should have done to save yourself $10,000 in tax. We met with one of our clients in, I think it was October or November of last year. He is a W-2 earner and has, I think, 3 properties under his belt right now and is expanding into this year. But he was saying that he had worked previously with accountants, and before that he had worked with a tax software, and he just didn't know if he was doing everything correctly or if he could have been paying even less in tax, right? High W-2 earners, the tax comes out of your paycheck, but if there's something you can do to get more of that money back, you better be doing it. And we found out that there were, in fact, some strategies that he could implement to better improve his situation and pay less in tax. And we have since implemented a tax plan and meet with him on a maintenance package regularly. But the point being is, if you're meeting with, if you're not speaking to a professional, point number one, and if you're doing it on software, you're not able to plan for these and find the strategies that are unique to your situation that could save you thousands in tax. I even think back to, I ran an Ironman in 2021, and one thing I knew when I took on the task of running an Ironman was that I needed someone. I needed an expert. And so I reached out to an Ironman coach, and he put me on a plan that would get me to Ironman fitness levels. And it worked. And a large part of that was a reliance on software, right? He labeled the calendar. I had them programmed into my watch, and I was able to participate and train according to that plan that was on the software. But more than that, I had regular meetings with him, probably 3 or 4 times throughout the 6 months that I was training, to discuss things like nutrition, sleep, training, mindset, all these things that play into the success of an Ironman triathlete that I wouldn't have gotten had I only purchased the software, right? So software in itself is not bad, but meeting with the professional in addition to the software is of the utmost importance if you're looking to save on taxes. And if you are meeting with a professional, you might as well give them the ability to prepare your taxes, because they're seeing hundreds of thousands of returns over their lifetime, and chances are they're going to be able to do it in a better fashion than you would using the software. Point number 3 as to why you're paying so much in tax is procrastination. Did you know that a large majority of people file their taxes or even only think about taxes during the last 2 weeks of tax season, right? Beginning of April to April 15th, traditionally, is when most people are concerned about their taxes. But tax savings take place throughout the year, right? We work with real estate investors all around the United States. And one thing we found is that those who are paying less in taxes are doing so because they've made decisions throughout the year rather than certain decisions at the beginning of the year related to last year. And now I'm not saying that that the only way to save on taxes is by making decisions throughout the year, but I know that there are savings that are only applicable if you seize the opportunity during the year. As humans, we have such a tendency to procrastinate, right? I think about going back to high school or college days. You knew the days of the exams at the start of the semester, right? Even in college, they gave you a syllabus. They told you exam number 1 is going to be on this day, exam number 2 is going to be on this day, and final exam is going to be on this day. What did every single student do during the course of the semester? They studied for the exam maybe 3 days before the exam, maybe more likely 2, and most likely 1 day before the exam. Taxes are no different. Too many Americans are procrastinating about their tax decisions, and it's costing them thousands tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands each year. If you're in the real estate industry and you are preparing taxes, even if it's only February through April, you are working too late. You should be working with your tax accountant throughout the year and finding strategies and implementing and making decisions based off those strategies so that you can keep more money in your account, your family is better off, your finances are healthier, and you have more money to deal with things like inflation or a recessionary economy. Point number 4 as to why you are paying so much in tax is that your accountant is severely overworked. You know, there was a stat that came out a couple of years ago that for every 700 taxpayers, there is one tax preparer. And I don't know when that number came out, but I know I saw it a couple of years ago, and I think that number is probably even increased. I would say that it's closer to 800 or maybe even 1,000 taxpayers for every tax preparer. Why? Because industry itself is an aging industry, right? There are people in the older generations, the baby boomers, and even the generation after that, that are traditionally the people who have the tax preparing and CPA firms. And so what happens when you age, you tend to retire. So there's a lot of people retiring, selling their firms, and now hundreds of people are left without a tax preparer. And if those taxpayers are lucky enough to find a tax preparer to prepare their taxes, well, chances are that tax preparer is overworked. There have even been times where we have fallen prey to it. When you're rushed and overworked, you make mistakes. So we've committed ourselves to only serving a certain number of real estate investors every year, because we know that as a boutique firm, we're able to build solid relationships with our clients to understand their hurts and their goals and where they're going and help them make decisions throughout it. So if your accountant is overworked, then we would be happy to speak with you because even though we do take on only a certain number of clients every year, we do have spots and we are adding team members. So go ahead and fill out the form in our show notes, or even go to our website, betterbookaccounting.co, and follow the steps there. I believe you can visit one of our calendars. But your accountant is overworked. The point being, when people are overworked, things get sloppy. You don't get all the savings you need, and you're likely not getting a relationship out of it either. And the last but not least reason that you are paying too much in tax is that you're trying to do it all on your own. You know, we humans have the ability to problem solve. We see problems and we, especially men, automatically find a solution, right? There are times where I'll be with Jasmine and she'll be telling me about something that she's going through or a problem she's having or something that's getting in the way. And I'm like, well, you just got to do this and this and this and this and this and that. And that's a beautiful thing. I love the fact that God has created us to be problem solvers. But a lot of times, specific to those problems that my wife brings to me, she just needs me to feel it. It's not a fix-it type problem. It's a feel-it type problem. Now, the point being is that you're trying to do it all on your own, right? Because we have this innate ability to problem solve, we think that we need to solve all the problems that come our way. But what's much better is when we team up with somebody who is more equipped to help us solve that problem. I've seen this in my own life. I've reached out to mentors and other successful business owners who have achieved a level of success that I have not yet achieved. And I've seen my ability to reach that level come easier because I have been able to delegate certain tasks and delegate certain conversations and improve certain skills because of the insights that I'm getting from that. The Bible says that two are better than one. And while that's in relation to the marital relationship, it is true for all relationships. It is better to be together than it is to be trying to fight battles on our own. And while we are great at solving problems, one of the biggest hindrances that we see is that people are trying to do too much on their own. And it often comes the idea or the philosophy that investing in something like a tax professional is not worth it because I can do it on your own, when in reality, saving $5,000 on a tax plan is really going to cost you $20,000 in taxes or interest and penalties, right? So we know that it can be a hefty investment to take that next step in tax planning, but trying to do it on your own is going to cost you so much more. We recommend reaching out to a qualified tax planning professional to meet your needs. When we can all come together and help solve our problems, that's where we work best, right? I I reach out to people who are experts in the real estate industry with questions around real estate, because I know that if I try to go down every rabbit hole on Bigger Pockets or just other real estate forums, then I am going to be in a much greater feeling of overwhelm than I am if I just go to somebody that I know has the information I need. So again, 5 reasons that you are overpaying in taxes. Number 1, you didn't speak to a professional. We seek professionals in our medical and dental. We might as well seek them in our financial. Number 2, you're relying on software to find savings. Software is great. It can be utilized. We use it in everything we do, but software on its own can cost you a lot more. Procrastination. We are wired to wait. Like I said, if in college you waited until the final 3 days before you even thought about studying for an exam, and it's the case throughout too many people's lives when it comes to taxes as well. And number 4, your accountant is overworked. There is a shortage of qualified tax professionals. And number 5, you are trying to do it all on your own. Guys, taxes can be saved, but you need to reach out to a qualified professional that has the information you need. If that is you, if you are in a position of overwhelm, if you're feeling discouraged because you leave thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to the government and not to yourselves, then reach out to us today. Fill out the form in the show notes and somebody from our team will reach out. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you all, and keep fighting the good fight.